What is up, YouTube? Today we're back with another Etheria restart video, and I want to make a quick little video kind of going over the things that I've learned from EWS to just kind of showcase, the units that I overlooked when I was building them that I saw being used in EWS in such a unique way. And before we get to the video, thank you to Etheria Restart for sponsoring today's video. And without further ado, let's jump into the things I learned because I'm really excited to share it with you. So let's go right ahead. In the background, you're going to see me doing just random things in Etheria, and I'll be popping a few things up here and there. But starting off with number one, I think we can all agree that Kicker is just too damn good at the game. The guy who just came in so prepared. People were expecting him to just be like a one-trick revelation player, but he was able to kind of, come out with some crowd control on day one that a lot of people like really weren't expecting. And if you didn't kind of prepare for, I would even call it like a pivot or a different game plan like that, you're definitely caught off by surprise, right? And that's just it was really nice to see him kind of be able to be super flexible, right? Because in a game so new like Etheria Restart, you having versatility in your drafting is one of the core factors of making you a good versus bad RTA player. And obviously he's number one for a reason, right? And number two, Kalian Bao might just be the PvP gotcha goat, man. Not only does he just tear the world up in Summoner's War, but he just comes over to Theory Restart and he's just like, you know what? Yeah, let's just sleep this Kecker guy, bro. Now, was that a dev account? Was that his own account? I guess we'll never know. But yeah, Kecker, NT, brother, you did good, but Kalen Biao just did a little bit better. But in all seriousness, though, the event was a massive success in my opinion, and I got to learn so many unique build combinations from this tournament. And the first two things about Kecker and Keelan Bao is kind of just I'm just trolling and just a little intro to the video. But I think, in my opinion, I think one of the players that I had the most fun watching, and you're about to watch me die. One of the players that I had the most fun watching actually was Han. Right, Han was able to showcase his amazing Hoyen on a Count Bulwark DPS build, and I think the reason why this build is so good is because one of Hoyen's core weaknesses in the game is that she is really weak to any debuffs that are coming in, right? So any attack down or any, taunts or just anything that can kind of disrupt her turn meter or her damage, just guts her as a unit, right? And I learned that Bulwark allows for Hogan to anchor the draft in a way no other unit can. Of course, unless Messiah is on the other team and he's going first. But I think that she is probably one of the best characters. Even if you're like a turn one, like a fast player, or if you're a turn two player, I think you absolutely have to have this character in anti-cleave situations when people pick a lot of revelation damage. And I know that I'm definitely going to be working on my Hoyen build once I find the right three matrix count shell for her, since somehow I am actually 5 out of 5 on her, because from 3 out of 5, just from permanent summons and before her banner left, I was like, you know what? I should probably get her. And so I finished her off. So definitely going to be a project that I'm working on. So huge shout out to Han. And I mean, just overall, like throughout the tournament, his drafts were just so fun to watch, right? I was like always like, how people say like, oh, you're at the edge of your seat. I feel like I was literally at the edge of my seat every time I was watching him play because he was just like, like only 7% of people voted for him to win the tournament. And that just comes to show that, not a lot of people believe that he could do it, and he proved everybody wrong. So he was an amazing, underdog. Um, Now for number two, I think that, Revelation is a little bit too overtuned and it does need to be adjusted. Like Bloodbath and Lighthouse units are a, quote unquote counter to Revelation units, but not when there's two plus Revelation units, especially in higher end RTA where there's a lot of players that have, two, three, four, five Revelation units, right? It could be Freya, it could be Heinrich, it could be Solence, it could be RC77, it could be just so many different characters are able to kind of pull off the revelation. And I just don't know if these support characters should be able to do that. It just seems a little bit, unbalanced. Especially also one unit that I didn't mention that we saw a lot in the tournament was Yelly. That obviously has the chain hits, right? I think it just simply shouldn't do that much damage from support units like where their sole purpose are for, buffing and enhancing, the other units on your team. And I think a good idea actually, and I don't know if, you know, XD are gonna, watch this or, consider my opinion, but I think it'd be cool. And if you could maybe, incorporate some type of shell that, provides the bloodbath effect so that Maybe you can layer on like the Bloodbath set and the Bloodbath shell and Lighthouse with Strive or, something so that you have a little bit more survivability, against, all these different Revelation, units that are in the game right now. Or we could simply just go with the idea of nerfing Revelation. I'm totally fine with that as well, by the way, just for the record. All right, just to set the record straight. But I don't think we're going to be seeing that coming anytime soon. But overall, hopefully they do make some changes sooner than later. And the third thing I learned from the Etheria tournament was that, or EWS rather, was Tiamat is broken. Like Tiamat has been broken since the closed beta when I had her in both closed betas. And also in the tournament when YDCB was able to showcase Tiamat in the show matches during day two, she is truly one of the pillars holding it down for turn two players. And her ability to turn things around when the game is not looking good is just amazing, right? Daring you to hit her while potentially losing the game in the process. And I think if you guys are able to get your hands on if you guys are able to get your hands on a Tiamat, which I still haven't been able to somehow, definitely build her. She is well worth it for sure. And now onto the fourth thing. I think that one of the surprising characters that I really wasn't expecting to see was Holden, right? Holden is, for me, is just like a Terramaton strip unit, or like a Bramble counter unit for turn two players on Bloodbath, Coloss Guard, that kind of thing. But his ability to strip with S3 makes him an amazing unit in PvP. So you're not left relying on Heinrich himself stripping in the, event, right? And people look obviously usually look to either pre-ban Heinrich or they're looking to post-ban Heinrich. And as a turn two player, you almost have to always pre-ban Heinrich that we saw in the tournament and just having the Holden there, right? Sometimes when you can jam the Holden and Heinrich together and you force two strippers to come out, then the opponent has nothing to do and they have to kind of try to, fight through double strip. And it's just like seems impossible, right? And just, I never would have thought to play him in that way as like an opener strip since his base speed is a bit lower than other animas. But the players in the day one and day two of EWS made sure to showcase him as a strip. So, I definitely just, I wasn't aware of the tech. So that was really crazy too. And another unit that I was really surprised by was Mia. Mia being used as a pushback to set up cleave units in, like Yelly on Revelation is actually insane. I actually, made my Mia simply for Aurora Inferno and, some other PvE content like Anti-Sync Echoes and Ember Trek and stuff like that. But Kecker is just such a genius to have her geared on a Swift Rush set, as a pushback in EWS, right? He used that to push back on, go for a Yelly S3, and just completely obliterate his team. And I just never even thought of using her like this because I just kind of think of her as like a, sustained character, right? Now, mind you, you are obviously are going to need, a bunch of lattices, or if you have enough effectiveness gear for her. But I just think that the creativity, and again, this goes to show like why Kecker is just so dang good at the game because he was able to identify his win conditions while some units might have gotten stolen earlier in the draft or units that perhaps Han would not have prepared for, right? And I just think that he's just in peak forms, honestly. And I think that's basically it. Those are the five things that I kind of want to kind of go over, from EWS and the highlights that I showed on screen. And I had a lot of fun watching. And I do want to say thank you to Etheria Restart for sponsoring not only this video, but also giving me the opportunity of watching EWS. And it was just a really fun time. And if you guys are interested in playing Etheria Restart or giving it a try, if you maybe watched EWS, make sure you can click on the link in the description or in the pinned comment. But that's all going to be all for me today for Ethereum Restart. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. And until then, take care. Bye.